Beginning on March 10th, all coronavirus restrictions will be lifted in Texas. The governor, Greg Abbott, decided that, even though the mask mandate was loosely enforced anyway, it doesn't matter, just gonna lift that restriction. And we're also gonna allow as many people to go into restaurants or indoor businesses as these businesses want. Now, if businesses want to implement mask mandates, they can do that, of course. But the whole point here is that Abbott, much like other red state governors, like in Mississippi, for instance, have decided to prematurely lift these restrictions as soon as we start noticing numbers going down. This is a disastrous decision, but I think it's really, really important to differentiate between lawmakers in a given state or lawmakers in the United States and what the people should get and what the people should essentially, how the people should be treated, right? So I've been seeing some stuff on social media, and I'm very happy that there's been backlash to this kind of rhetoric. That's just not okay, because we need to understand that, first of all, coronavirus is a public health issue. It's a rapidly spreading virus, and we need to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And with that context, I'm gonna give you the tweets that I don't like from Michael Moore to begin with, who said this: Texas, we hear you. You didn't want to be part of our electrical grid, and now you've removed your mask mandate and are allowing large crowds to gather. We hear you. COVID is a hoax, so you don't need our precious vaccine. We'll send it to people who are saving lives by wearing masks. So already I hate this. I think this is the wrong way to go. You're punishing the people of Texas, even though we probably disagree with many Texans politically, it doesn't matter. Punishing them for the decisions made by their moronic governor, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. Michael Moore decided to then double down. Yes, we must and will find a way to vaccinate the poor and people of color in Texas. To Texans who say, hey, it's not me, it's the governor. Well, then impeach and remove him. We're tired of this. Don't mess with Texas. Happy to oblige. There's more from Moore, which I can get to if you'd like me to. But Cenk, I don't know if you disagree with me, if you agree with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, look, I think this requires a little bit of nuance. First of all, whether it's Keith Olbermann or Michael Moore, I'm positive they're making a rhetorical point. I'm positive that if they were president, they wouldn't actually ban the people of Texas from getting it. Right, so and so hence I think people are overreacting online a little bit to a point that's supposed to draw attention and not be practical. So I'm happy to be corrected on that. And if they say no, it's practical, no, I actually don't want them to get the vaccine. Obviously, that would be a different equation, right? But in terms of the rhetorical point, Anna, I like that they're drawing attention to the fact that the people are making these decisions. So it doesn't mean all of the people are, and of course, a lot of people voted against Abbott and Cruz and all those folks in Texas. But overall, the people of Texas picked these Republicans, and they deregulate their energy, they unplug it from the rest of the country, and it causes disaster, and it causes people to die. And then they ask for a federal government handout. Happy to oblige, as we do with every state. But can I get an apology that you guys were wrong, and now you're asking, pleading with the rest of us to give you money? We're good guys, so we're gonna give it, but I'd like an apology. That would be great, right? Now, this idiot turns around just as we're getting coronavirus under control, and there's a reason why he's doing it. This is really important. He's doing it for, I mean, you're mad at Moore and Olbermann, I get it. On the other hand, you should be 1,000 times, and I know most progressives are obviously, but 1,000 times more angry at Abbott because he's willing to endanger the lives of his citizens to remove the mandate early so he can draw more attention. If he removes the mandate in the middle of everyone else removing it, it will not make as much news. Abbott is trying to make news. Remember, I'm among the biggest Republican jerks in the country. And that's what Republican voters love. And they're like, oh yes, he's willing to kill us. We love that guy, right? So he's going out early on purpose to make a political point, and that one is practical. That one actually affects people's lives, as opposed to a tweet from Olbermann and Moore. And so the asterisk, Anna, is that I like that Olbermann and Moore are drawing attention to, hey, your votes matter, And so if you don't want to have these guys kill you through deregulation or anti-mask mandates, anti-science, then don't vote for them.
I get that it's rhetorical, and I don't think that they would, I mean, although Olbermann is a different case, I don't think Michael Moore would actually withhold the vaccine from the state of Texas. I only say that about Olbermann because he seems to be particularly cantankerous. But anyway, look, I just think that even if it's rhetorical, and I do believe that's the case, that type of communication does nothing to persuade someone who might disagree with you politically to maybe consider the perspective that you're trying to put out there. Because what it does is it automatically demonizes people, and it automatically pits you against the people that you're talking about, right? And that like tough love rhetoric very clearly does not work. And I just don't think that it's a welcoming message. I don't think that it's a message that actually resonates with people who could be persuadable. So I hear what you're saying. No. I just think that the tactic needs to be a little smarter, and I don't think that's a smart tactic. Because essentially what you're saying is, and by the way, and you're also assuming, not you specifically, but the assumption is that, hey, it's Texas, they have free and fair elections, there's no issue there. And so all the people who, these people, these government officials, they got elected fair and square. And that's just not the case. We know that's not the case. So it's just, that rhetoric and that rhetorical comment is actually what lacks quite a bit of nuance. And I do think it turns people off. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
And by the way, real quick, let me give you Olbermann's tweet, because we keep talking about it and we haven't even shared it with the audience. Olbermann tweeted something very similar. Why are we wasting vaccinations on Texas if Texans have decided to join the side of the virus? That's his argument.
If Texas has decided to join, it's an important distinction. He didn't say Texans.
I'm sorry, Texas, yes.
Yeah, so look, for the folks who are saying, but there's lots of good, honest, decent people in Texas. Yes, even some that might have voted for Abbott, but certainly a lot that voted for Democrats, people of color, you name it, right? To which I say, of course, that's why it's rhetorical, it's not real. But the more we talk about it, the more I agree with Moore and Olbermann. Because Anna, what does it do? It draws attention to the fact that Abbott is endangering the actual lives of Texans. So it puts them in a situation where I think that they are playing defense. But the problem is we always attack our own. And I get it, I get what you're saying. I get why people are upset about it. But instead of going, hey, wait a minute, strong attention to what the terrible things that Abbott's doing, almost every progressive and liberal and Democrat online is attacking Moore. And I feel like it's almost like a show of like, oh yeah, look at how compassionate I am. I don't want to say virtue signaling because that's such an annoying and wrong thing to say. Like I don't believe in that framing. But there is a little bit of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stand up to Michael Moore. Michael Moore doesn't actually have any power, so it's not that big a deal to stand up to him.
I'm not really interested in any type of, for lack of a better phrase, virtue signaling, right? If people think I'm compassionate, cool. If they think I'm not compassionate, that's fine. I am who I am. My point here is I wanna win, right? Like we need to rethink our approach to things. And so I know how I react when people come at me the way that Michael Moore is coming at Texans or Keith Olbermann is coming at Texas, right? Like if someone came at me that way, I get more defiant. I'm less likely to listen to whatever the message is. And I understand what you're saying, Cenk. It draws more attention, negative attention to Greg Abbott and what he's doing. But that negative attention already exists. The question is, how do we persuade people who might not be fully aware of how devastating Abbott is as their governor, right? And you don't persuade them by even rhetorically speaking, threatening to withhold the vaccine from them. I think that's just a bad messaging tactic.
Yeah, last thing on this. I want people to understand, I don't know that Olbermann and Moore did this on purpose. And in terms of those two guys, there's a giant difference, just to be clear. Olbermann's got a lot of issues. Moore is generally a good guy. You might disagree here or there, but I think he has good intent. And so, but Anna, the factor nobody talks about is that the press will almost never give progressives positive attention. So it almost forces either someone looking for the spotlight like Olbermann or someone just desperately trying to get people to focus on the right issues like Moore. And maybe I'm wrong about Olbermann. Maybe he did it for good intent too. I don't know their intent, okay? But it forces them to say provocative things because the press is never gonna cover them saying, hey, Abbott did something terrible here. You should actually look out for the people of Texas and you should listen to science. They'll say boring, that's not an issue. The only way, and it's particular to progressives because we're invisible to the mainstream press. And so the only way we're ever gonna get press is by getting negative press. I don't know that Moore and Olbermann know that consciously, but they might know it subconsciously, and hence they do something provocative like that to get people to focus on the real issue, which is that Abbott's gonna get a lot of people killed just to help his political career by a little bit. And by the way, isn't it sad that in the Republican Party, being more incompetent, being more selfish, getting more people killed is a positive, not a negative.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.